Hello, hello. Oh, hello, hello. All right, great. Joining with. Hi.
Hi.
How's your Wi-Fi?
It's working.
All
Yeah.
right, nice. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for joining. I'm excited. I've known about Dow Labs for so long and worked with you guys, so I'm excited for people to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great time to be having these discussions for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to start just by introducing yourself and how you work with Dow?
Sure.
Okay.
So my name is Jen Ward. I'm an acupuncturist. I've been practicing Chinese medicine for about 10 years and became licensed in 2014 because I initially got interested through food and herbs and then added acupuncture later. So I've been in practice, and when Dao Labs started a number of years ago, I just really liked their mission in terms of educating the public about Chinese medicine and making it approachable, because that's what I found as a practitioner, that a lot of people, um, there's many people that this medicine can support, but some people, you really have to make it approachable to them because they might not be as open to it. And so I really liked Jiao Lab's mission of educating the public and, all their fantastic relationships with acupuncturists. So when I decided to cut back on some clinic hours, an opportunity came up, and so I get to work with acupuncturists all across the world, and we get to have conversations about how to help our patients with herbs, because herbs are a big part of Chinese medicine, and it's,
Yeah.
Dow Labs, I found, really made herbs approachable too, because, I got out of school so enthusiastic to, make custom formulas that everyone could cook at home. And I thought, oh gosh, my patients are like how I was when I first, found Chinese medicine, and really stressed, and who has time to cook the herbs? And so I thought Dow Labs was approachable for people, and found compliance also increased. So I just think it's a great way to introduce people to the herb portion of Chinese medicine.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's why I love Tao as well. And I love that, I'm being a licensed acupuncturist. There's definitely, especially, you go through all this education, and then I went and got my doctorate as well, and I'm practicing, and I'm like, herbs are a huge part of what we do, and it's a huge part of the medicine. But like you said, it's not always um easy for people to integrate herbs
Right.
into their day-to-day life. And then also we're called acupuncturists. So people immediately think needles. And there's, a lot more that goes into that with nutrition and with herbal
Absolutely.
medicine, with other modalities beyond acupuncture. Um, so what I think is really wonderful about what Tao is doing beyond making it approachable is really incorporating the licensed community, because there are a lot of companies that can, sell an herb or promote herbs, or, the natural approach is like what's hot right now. But Tao has made Chinese medicine very approachable, but yet at the same time made sure to keep acupuncturists and practitioners involved in that process. And
Absolutely.
I also have a lot of respect for the formulas that Dow's chosen, because as a doctor, I'm like, look, there are certain formulas that, you need a prescription for, that
Right.
should really only be coming from someone who's licensed, who knows, your medical history and what other medications you're on. And I think Dow's done a pretty good job of picking formulas that are safe, that are hard hitting in a safe way. So they give you the biggest bang for your buck. You want stress relief, or you want to sleep better, but it's not going to be a highly customized formula that has contraindications or things that we should be
Right.
concerned about as practitioners. Um, so I think it's awesome to have this option direct to consumer, but then to get the practitioners involved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And most formulas are very true to classical, except with
Mhm.
physical tranquility. That formula was tailored a little bit because even though it's still classical version, the blood building herbs that are really strong for like the general public, where the dosage was brought down a little bit. So, to your point, and then also, the flavors were really, really thought out by our founder, chef, and herbalist working on the flavors together.
So I want to tell a story about that because I met Travis, who works on, like, you guys have seen him on the blog if you're watching, like, so many cool recipes, so many amazing ways to incorporate herbs in your day-to-day life. And I met him, I want to say it was like 4 years ago. It was a while ago, and I've done consulting for different herbal companies, and we just happened to have a conversation when I went to a trade show in Minnesota. Um, and just like the passion that he had as one of the founders of Tao, just about like being a chef and then finding Chinese medicine, it's not just practitioners who founded your company. I love that, you have a chef and you have John, who's like just the most genuine, enthusiastic
Yeah,
person, I've met, and
absolutely.
just thinks Chinese medicine is amazing, but has this,
Yeah.
incredible marketing and sales background. And then for Eric to be like the practitioner, it's kind of like a perfect blend of, all the things you guys needed to move forward. But I would say just knowing these people, like the respect for the medicine is absolutely there, and the love for Chinese medicine and the power of Chinese medicine is there. So that's been like my favorite thing about
Yeah,
Dow.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love all our conference calls because I used to be in marketing and advertising for 15 years before I transitioned fully into Chinese medicine. But I was like, oh, I've never worked with an entire company where we can, know about acupuncture and Chinese medicine and herbs and food, and we talk about food. And John is the perfect, Tao patient as a CEO. Busy, two small children, new puppy, just taking
Yeah.
formulas every time we're, on a conference call. So, we use our formulas too. So,
Awesome. Can we talk a little bit about your formulas? Because I know you guys have a
absolutely.
very like popular immunity formula right now. What's funny about this
Mm-hmm.
is, Jade Windscreen went flying off the shelves. And I was like, do people not know about Dow? Like they could have just gotten it there.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Mm-hmm.
I've been having a lot of conversations with patients and with practitioners about it's not just about, oh, this one formula for immunity, that's going to be the be all
Yeah.
end all at this time. You still have to think like a doctor, like as a practitioner, treating the root of what's going on. If somebody has an underlying deficiency, that's what we should be treating. Like we don't need to just throw an immunity formula at the problem. We still need to work on our underlying health concerns. So you guys have a pretty good variety of formulas. So I'd love if you would just give a quick, snippet of
Yeah,
each.
absolutely. So if we think of, um, I wrote a blog article, I think it was about 2 weeks ago now, and as someone that practices Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, the power of digestion. So, if our digestion isn't pure, if we're not, assimilating nutrients or, detoxifying of anything, our digestion's going to be weak and our immunity is going to be weak. I mean, there's a lot, we could probably talk about that for, hours.
Yeah.
So our digestive harmony is one that is good. Also, because people, might be having challenges at home now. Maybe they're eating foods that are not, maybe it's not a typical diet and they're just trying to feed their family and work from home and things like that. So traditionally, Bao Wan digestive harmony, we would normally think about this formula as folks coming out of practice as
Mhm.
reducing, we say, food accumulation or harmonizing the stomach. More for like excess or indigestion, food stagnation when food just, sits there. So, but as we know, when there's blockage or qi block, dampness comes up. So we might have like bloating or pain, reflux, again, these excess, but there can also be a weakness. And the reason why I also bring up the digestive harmony is sometimes people, they're not sleeping well due to digestion. So, while we have two other sleep formulas, Digestive Harmony can also help for those that are not sleeping well due to maybe they're eating late or eating a late dinner or whatnot. I'm just gonna see if I'm gonna place my headphones in. If
Okay.
that's,
See if it
let's see
helps
if
with
that's,
the background noise.
there we go.
Yeah, and I think, well, with Digestive Harmony too, with Bao, like people's diets are off right now. Things are really off for people right now. So it's also can be a regulating formula in that sense. Oh, did I lose you? I think we're frozen. Maybe not. Is it frozen on your end?
Yes, she is.
Okay. We're gonna try to get her back. Here we go. Okay.
So sorry about that. I just wanted to put in my headphones.
And
Is that
somehow
okay?
it's yeah, no, now that's great.
Okay,
I was just
yeah, it
saying
looks like I
before you
lost you there.
froze. No, Bahamon also, people are at home, they're out of their schedules too. So like
Yeah,
everyone's just their stomachs are off, like and eating is off. People are trying to find that new level of normal, but there's definitely kind of a desire for harmonizing that's going on
yeah,
right now
yeah.
as well. So, and
Yeah,
everything starts with the diet.
yeah, and as much as I encourage patients, to cut back on alcohol, some people in times of stress might, have maybe a little more than normal, or maybe they're home more, and so this can also help with an overindulging of food. So, twofold, supports digestion, but also, keeping that digestive harmony, just like the name of the title of the formula. Do you want me to just continue
Yeah,
on,
like go
or
through all,
okay?
and I love the
Okay.
names of the formulas. They're very user friendly. So,
Yep, yep. Yeah. So in addition to immunity support, you're right. I mean, that is flying off the shelves. There's other places that are out of it. Dow Labs, is continuing to make more. I mean, the whole company is doing whatever we can to push that formula out. But emotional balance, Xiao Yao Wan is another. We all know how popular that
my
formula can
favorite.
be. So, called emotional balance because in Chinese medicine, we do look at emotions, and often this formula has such a wide range. Women's health, gynecological concerns, PMS, irritation, really good for that stressful life. Because the reason why, to your point of getting to that root cause, right, we might have liver qi constraint or stagnation.
Mhm.
And when that is not flowing, Chinese medicine, it's all kind of a system. So if the liver is not functioning correctly, then we might become more blood deficient because then the spleen is affected by the liver. So it's, this triangle effect of every, if this, then this. So the formula, helps move that, we say move the liver, support the liver, and also build blood. So it helps our emotions decrease because there's not as much constraint. And that's what I hear from patients that take this formula. Usually they can come in and say, wow, I notice I can deal with life better. I'm not as irritated. But in addition,
Well,
abdominal pain. Oh, go ahead.
no, well, and that's the thing too. Like herbs being different than a pharmaceutical medication, the effect is more mild because you're working with the body's physiology. So,
Mm-hmm.
your body already knows how to heal. It knows how to get better. Sometimes it just needs a
Yeah,
little push in the right direction. So,
exactly.
I think particularly at this time, people are more stressed. And I'm seeing as a practitioner, patterns that like maybe people that didn't tend towards that
Mm-hmm.
stagnation in the past are experiencing that now. So emotional balance is a great formula for this
Right,
time.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so that's another one that's, really popular now and always. And then kind of keeping along that, I'll just quickly go over to the women's formula because often
Hmm.
with menstrual cycles and now, depending on what state or what country, different fertility treatments might be, on hold. Women are still having menstrual concerns. So women's formula is another fantastic formula. We say that's a blood builder. So again, I think of patients that root cause. So if someone is not sleeping at night, even though we have our sleep formulas, they might need something stronger like a women's formula because we say that
Exactly.
builds the blood because our
Hmm.
sleep builds the blood. And in order for our immunity to be strong, we need to have blood. But I think of women's formula. I know I've had 3 or 4 friends have babies during this time, and that's a time where maybe typically would be coming to their house and giving them food and nourishing them. So a
Yeah.
formula such as women's formula is great for recovery, just post menses for recovery. So we call it women's formula, but I know that men use it too. It's just a blood builder called Suwutong, heavy periods. So really great for women's health. So we have to continue, like you said, it's all about getting at that root cause too. So that being said, I'll move over to mental tranquility unless you have any comments
Now,
on
the
this.
women's,
Okay.
do you guys still sell the women's formula and emotional balance also as a kit? Do you have the
We do.
combined one still? Okay.
Yes,
I
yes.
actually really like that for female athletes.
Oh,
And
yes.
for even if there's no dysfunction with menses, like even if they're
Mhm.
at a pretty regular cycle, it's kind of great for recovery. It addresses the stagnation piece, it addresses the deficiency piece. So again, it's like all comes back to treating the root, and those might be the most appropriate
Absolutely.
formulas for someone to help with sleep. But you guys do have two really good sleep formulas, so I'll let you
Yeah,
guys talk.
yeah. Yeah. And to your point about athletes too, during the cycle, we have different needs every phase. And in Chinese medicine, we say the yin and the yang shift. And so, yes, I mean, even the healthiest of women with no irregularities will benefit from women's formula because we're all a little bit out of balance just being in our modern world. And athletes,
Yeah.
might be really pushing it, although usually athletes are really, really into nutrition. So that helps.
Right.
So So we know food is medicine too. And actually, there are some cases if people, I have all my patients, look at their tongue. We look at their tongue in the office, but I tell them to look at it because if digestion is really, really impaired, herbs aren't even going to be effective. We have to really support that digestion first. So with our moving into sleep, mental tranquility and physical tranquility. So we actually ran a campaign at Dow Labs called Show Us Your Tongue, where we were just really trying
Love
to
that.
educate the public. Because so many people will say, why do you want to see my tongue? What do you see? And that helps me as a practitioner maybe ask them a couple more defining questions and then also educate them too that they can be looking at their tongue and maybe see if they're starting to feel fatigue, look at their tongue. They might, even see a cold coming on by like a thicker coating on their tongue. So that being said, mental tranquility and physical tranquility to practitioners will show up with different presentations.
Mhm.
Because like you said, we're not just treating, we are treating the individual. So I'll start with mental tranquility, which is based on a Gui Tong. So in Chinese medicine, we say that supports the spleen and the heart. And even though it's a blood building formula, we say the qi supports the blood. It's nourishing the heart. So any disturbed sleep, insomnia, I would hear patients say, maybe they have anxiety, they have a racing mind, they might, say they have those heart palpitations that Western medicine has said, they've gotten their test, they're completely fine, but they still have that, anxiety. They might, again, show women's health. We might see different things that are off with their cycle that lead us to this formula, such as spotting or excessive bleeding. And we would see, maybe a very pale tongue or a tongue we say that is like puffy or scallop. They might say loose stools. We would think of spleen. So that would be our mental tranquility formula. And I was talking about it to someone else the other day, that what's been great about compliance from patients with these is they've made that kind of like a ritual in their evening.
Mhm.
They were able to kind of create a routine for bed, which helps too, especially for that type of
Absolutely.
insomnia. Yeah, yeah.
That's like the
And then
first thing I prescribe to patients when they're having trouble sleeping is like, well, you need a wind down routine. You have to signal
yeah,
to your body that it's time to wind down. And
exactly.
those formulas are so great. They're not going to be, too stimulating or too sedating.
Right,
Again, it's
right.
like a very natural
Yeah,
progression
yeah.
with them.
Yeah, and I've seen so many clients that come in, especially ones that have had issues sleeping maybe longer term and they've taken, melatonin. They're like, I don't understand. I can't sleep through the night. Because again, we need blood. We have to get at that root cause. We need to sleep through the night. So when I often hear them saying, I'm waking up in the middle of the night, I can't stay sleeping, I think about that nourishing of blood for sure.
Mhm.
Okay. And then physical tranquility, we think of this in Chinese medicine, we say heart and kidney. So we would say there might be more of, we say yin deficiency, so more heat. And I know you know all this, but I'm just
No, but it's
giving
important for
to
everyone who's listening to talk
all
through
right,
it.
right.
So,
I'm just giving you a little refresh too, but I know we're here for everyone tuning in. But excessive dreaming is something that I would think about this formula if they have other signs. We say of heat signs because I think, all right, it's gotten a little deeper. There might be forgetfulness. There might be night sweats. So for some practitioners that maybe are newer to clinic, they might think, oh, this is like for, my menopausal patients. But Gui Pitong, mental tranquility, can also be for heat in some way. This is the intricacies of Chinese medicine. But for the most
yeah.
part, we're going to see more heat signs for someone that has a physical tranquility presentation. So there might be a red tongue tip, um, even just red tongue in general, maybe a thinner tongue. And this is the formula that I said is the most, not very, very modified, but a little bit more modified to make it more available to be more digestible for people. Because we say the high dosages of certain herbs can be like greasy or cloying and hard to digest. So this has been adjusted, but
I like
very
that. And
effective still. Yeah.
well, with your sleep formulas, I think I actually did it was like a webinar or a live or something with you guys a couple years ago, and it was about insomnia when the formulas came out. And someone had asked about melatonin, and there are certainly people that melatonin is appropriate for, but we always need to remember that, melatonin does affect your endocrine system. It
Mm-hmm.
affects your hormones.
Mm-hmm.
It does make changes. And, a lot of people can't stay at a certain dose or they start experiencing side effects because the lack of melatonin was not the root cause for them. For people who actually have, too small of an amount of melatonin, that can be really beneficial, but it's kind of become this blanket thing. And with the different
Yeah.
sleep formulas, people are like, oh, well, don't I just like take it right before bed because it's gonna knock me out. It's like
Right.
it's not like an Ambien. It's
Right.
extremely
Right.
mild, and it's going
yeah.
to help teach your body little by little how to sleep appropriately. And that's why,
Yeah.
like with the Gui Piton, the mental tranquility, people are, taking that in the morning too. So it's not
Yeah.
something that you take, it's going to knock you out and then you sleep well. It's that, oh, okay,
Right.
we're actually causing a very gentle shift in the body, reminding it of what it is to feel in balance.
Yeah.
And if your
Yeah.
body is at the proper place, you're going to be able to sleep properly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love it. You've said it perfectly because that's exactly how I describe herbal medicine to people. Is I say, when I perform acupuncture, we're getting there together, but when we add herbs, I tell people that we're going to get there even faster, because the herbs are helping to change the physiology. And yeah, Gui Tong, a lot of people are using that for clarity in the daytime because overnight, when we've slept well and nourished the blood, we can get a little more nourishment in the morning and have, some clarity and focus as well. So hence
They
mental
used to be called
tranquility
the
in the
student
daytime and
formula.
night. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot
Like
about
in school, people
that.
would take that for studying. So it's
Yeah,
incredible
yeah.
to know, like, yeah, it helps at night and during the day.
Yes, yes. That's what I remember our teacher saying, the brain is a pig because it's just consuming information, and so we always had to re-nourish it. So perfect formula. And
Exactly.
then yeah, and then I think we have one more to report on. So the joint formula. And this
Mhm.
one I just love the taste because it's different than the other formulas. It doesn't have the effervescence. So it's kind of like,
Okay.
the ever popular golden milk. It kind of like reminds me of that. This is for, we say, pain, joint pain. So very specific joint pain, traditionally used for low back pain. But what we find, and Dr. Eric, who is one of our founders, definitely has said, this is a formula that supports the chi and blood. So he's done a lot of lectures on this, was really passionate about this ancient formula. So in Chinese medicine, when we support and supplement the chi and blood in this formula, we're supporting the liver blood, which is tied to tendons, and kidney, which is tied to the bones. So it's really, really good for different areas of pain. And so I think this could be one that's really helpful for people because, again, the pain is coming from an underlying condition.
Right.
And in this case, it also can help, we say, with blood and on some level wind, damp. So this pain in the extremities, which we see, in young, like those athletes, some athletes that have just, push things, a little too hard, right? Athletes just, as they get older, just keep pushing their bodies beyond the limits. So this is helpful in that situation. And then also, as people age and their joints become drier, this will nourish because it's nourishing blood. So again, a fantastic formula for back pain and beyond joint pain and extremity pain in the joint.
Well, I think, like when we learned that formula traditionally back in school, it was more thought of like, oh, for older people or that like
Mm-hmm.
deficiency, like they just worn out, their back and their knees.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're seeing and, like what we had talked about earlier about just like how our